Rhetorical question, if you could only keep one of these players on the Twins, which one would it be? Obviously, maybe all four of these guys will be back. Maybe none of these four guys will be back. We have no idea. But I thought this was a tough poll because I had a hard time choosing between these guys. And here are the final results, again, from last night. Nelson Cruz, number one at 45.5%. Trevor May, number two at 26.4%. Then Jake Odorizzi at 22%. And Eddie Rosario at 6.1%. Just working from the bottom down, I think Eddie Rosario, as much as you might like him and want him back, out of this quartet, he's easily the most replaceable. Not surprised he came in last in this poll. Jake Odorizzi, the recency bias thing, he didn't pitch well when he pitched. It was only like 13 innings this year, had a lot of weird injuries. I could not too surprised he's in second. Trevor May, you could definitely argue that the biggest holes right now with the Twins as the roster currently stands would be in the bullpen. Trevor May was great last year, new pitch mix, a guy on the climb, maybe the second best relief pitcher on this year's free agent market. Not surprised he had a very strong showing. Nelson Cruz, though, with almost half the vote, 45.5%, just crushed this poll. Hard to argue against. This guy has been the most productive Twin the last 2 years. He's been, one of the best hitters in baseball the last 2 years, so not surprised to see he did as well as he did. I do think I would have to lean with Nelson Cruz. It's very hard for me to not pick a pitcher, even though the pitching wasn't really the Twins' problem last year. It was the offense, and maybe that's sort of what pushes me more towards Cruz. The age is definitely a factor. I'm going to talk about that soon in another item I get to. I'm not sure if it's going to be a video on my YouTube channel or an article at Twins Daily, but we're going to talk about Nelson Cruz aging, show you some graphs and things like that. But right now, Nelson Cruz would be my pick as well. As mentioned in that discussion about that poll, I do have some things to share in regard to Nelson Cruz. Didn't end up being enough to where I thought it was worthy of a whole article or a whole standalone video, but I do want to share these things. I think they're interesting. I think you'll find them interesting. Two things to keep in mind, however, are number one, Nelson Cruz appears to be eternal. Anything regarding the aging curve on normal baseball players has not applied to Nelson Cruz, so it seems dangerous to try to apply those even at this point. Regardless of how old he is. And number two, 2020 stats, take them all with a grain of salt. These are small sample sizes. Keep that in mind. However, let's take a look at this. So Nelson Cruz's xWOBA by season. If you're not familiar with that stat, I will include a link in the description to a description on that. But there it looks, you can see quite a big dip in 2020. That is a stat that measures quality of contact. And one of the reasons why that dipped so much is this. Nelson Cruz's ground ball percentage really skyrocketed in 2020, higher than it's been over this sample we have here since 2008. And, Nelson Cruz clearly getting up there, not a guy who's going to beat out a lot of ground ball singles. So he's a guy who's going to want to get the ball in the air, power hitter. So this is not what you want to see from Nelson Cruz. Taking a look here, these are the zone profiles. This is where pitchers have attacked him. Not surprising at all to see that they're going down and away, but this here is 2019. This here is 2020. They look fairly similar to the way these are color-coded. However, I would add that the pitch percentage down in this is zone number 14 on game day, I believe. That pitch percentage increased from 28.5% of the pitches he saw in 2019 to 31.6% in 2020. Not a huge jump, but pitchers are going there more often. And, that might not make a big difference if Cruz was laying off those pitches. However, his swing percentage increased kind of along with the number of pitches he saw down there. In 2019, he swung at 28.2% of these pitches down and away. And in 2020, it was up to 33% of those pitches down and away. So he's also chasing some pitches that he's really not able to do a lot with. Here we can see the xWOBA by zone in 2019 and 2020. And again, you see not only is he chasing those pitches a bit more, he's also not really doing anything with them. Again, not surprising that pitchers would attack him down there. Also not very surprising that he's not able to do much damage on those pitches. Just something that I saw that was interesting to keep in mind. So he's going to need to lay off those pitches a bit more. And one of the things, this sort of hammers home one thing that I do think is worthy of taking away. I'm actually a little bit more concerned about Nelson Cruz and off-speed and breaking balls than fastballs. There's been some speculation that maybe his bat's slowing down. However, it's worth pointing out another thing I dug up was Nelson Cruz ranked fourth in expected weighted on-base average versus pitches that were 92 plus miles per hour. 92 miles per hour is about the average fastball right now in 2020. Fourth overall. So this guy is still crushing fastballs. That only is behind Freddie Freeman, Bryce Harper, and Juan Soto. So Cruz still one of the best fastball hitters in baseball, but it's those down and away pitches that are a bit concerning. However, to be fair, you can see his hard hit percentage across the board was down. Not quite as big of a dip on fastballs as you see as it was on off speed. And this is now a trend of a couple of years here where the breaking ball hard hit percentage is going down. Clearly, that didn't help. That didn't hurt his production much in 2019. And, the guy was plenty productive enough in 2020. However, again, when we discuss these sort of aging curves and things like that, we'd like to believe that it's a sort of a gradual thing that happens, but sometimes guys just completely fall off. I think the easiest kind of a contemporary player to compare Cruz to, is Edwin Encarnacion. And Edwin is a guy who did fall completely off in 2020. He went from posting a 131 OPS plus in 2019 to a 70 OPS plus in 2020. And that basically means he was 30% above average offensively in 2019 and then 30% below average in 2020. So there's obviously that caveat of it was a weird season, keep that in mind. And Nelson Cruz has been a more productive hitter than Edwin Encarnacion, so he's starting from a higher spot. However, Edwin is a few years younger than Cruz, so maybe those two things kind of balance themselves out. But when I see this with Encarnacion, the scary thing is that there wasn't really a gradual. It is just immediately look at the hard hit percentages, and it's across the board on all three pitch types, just completely falling off. And then you can see, especially on the off-speed stuff, which he crushed in 2019, that was his worst set in 2020. And really what makes that even worse is that these chase percentages, so he went chasing those pitches even more. So, and I don't think I have the slide for this, but I also saw that Edwin was not hitting fastballs in the zone. People were getting those fastballs by him, unlike what we've seen from Nelson Cruz. So just some stuff to keep in mind, people who are picking against Nelson Cruz, like it is important to remember this guy's getting way up there. Father Time is undefeated. Nelson Cruz is undefeated as well. So it's going to be a battle. Who's going to win that one? Is Nelson Cruz going to keep hitting like this, or is Father Time finally going to catch up to him? Like I said, I still pick Nelson Cruz. I'm willing, if I'm the Twins, to be that team that finally is wrong. These teams keep betting against him and expecting him to fall off, and they've been wrong. I'm willing to keep betting on him until he does fall off and be that team that finally went too far, took him too far into his age, and was wrong. So that's just my opinion. You let me know what you think on that one. All right, the next offseason item we want to discuss is the St. Paul Saints potentially becoming a Minnesota Twins affiliate. Lavelle Neal III of the Star-Tribune reported that the Rochester Red Wings will no longer be affiliated with the Twins. That was the Twins' AAA affiliate, opening the door for a new, relationship. The Twins and the Saints did have a relationship this season, with the Twins having their alternative site at CHS Field. So there is a relationship there. Now, does this make sense? Would it make sense for the Saints and the Twins to become affiliated officially? From the Twins' perspective, I totally get it. You have your minor league affiliate right across the river. Very easy to move guys around. Gorgeous facilities there at CHS Field. Excellent playing surface. Things are totally adding up for the Twins. For the Saints, as much as, me and I know everybody else who follows the minor league system would love to have an official affiliate just across the river in St. Paul, it would be amazing. I don't know how much sense it makes to them, to be honest with you. And that was sort of the perspective I took from this article, is kind of thinking of things more in the Saints' perspective. They're already they're one of the most popular minor league baseball teams in the country, being an independent league team. So they already have a really good setup without having to deal with whatever else would happen to come with being under Major League Baseball's thumb. And they would also have to pay. As Lavelle reported, it could be as much as $20 million that the Saints would have to pay minor league baseball, but that the Twins could potentially cover some of that cost. But, Major League Baseball is just crushing. They're cutting 40 minor league baseball teams right now. I don't know, unless the Saints are concerned about the rest of the American Association, the league they play in, and those teams being financially okay. The Saints are probably going to be fine since they do so well attendance wise. But maybe some of those other teams in their league aren't so lucky. Maybe they're kind of left without a league almost, depending on what happens. That's all speculation from my point. And at that point, it would make a lot of sense for the Saints to join in with the Twins. But I mean, there's no denying their business model has been successful on their own, and they don't have to deal with Major League Baseball kind of telling them what to do. So it'll be really interesting to see how this shakes out. But again, if you want to see my perspective, which is kind of thinking of this more from the St. Paul Saints angle, check that out at Twins Daily. Speaking of the St. Paul Saints, let's look at another poll I ran on Twitter here. Which one of these former Twins players and current free agents would you most like to see back with the team in 2021? So these are guys who were with the Twins prior to this year, prior to 2020, who are free agents. Number one guy, CJ Cron. He only had 9% of the vote. And kind of the thought process here is Cron could be first base DH rotation guy if the Twins were to move on from Nelson Cruz. And I mean, to be fair, CJ Cron has a higher weighted runs created plus than Miguel Sano does over the past 3 seasons. So there is that. Second guy, Robbie Grossman, 14.4% of the vote. Again, this is a guy who could factor in if either Nelson Cruz and or Eddie Rosario are no longer with the Twins in 2021. He had a great year. He ranked 41st in WRC plus at 126. That was only 10 spots behind Michael Brantley, who's considered one of the better offensive free agents in this year's crop. The guy who won it, former Saint Brandon Kintzler, former Twin, former Saint, dominated this poll at 47.1%. I get it. The definite need in the bullpen. This guy's sinker is still absolutely gross, and it's helped him pitch to a 2.55 ERA over the past 2 seasons. Looks very good there. However, the peripherals, the other numbers are not nearly as good for Brandon Kintzler. Last season, he had 5.2 Ks per 9 and 4.1 walks. That would not have been my choice. I'm not saying I wouldn't be interested in having him on the Twins, but it wouldn't be my top choice here. My top choice, and I don't even know how to spell his name right, apparently, Jonathan Schoop. Missing some letters in the first name there. Nobody called me out for that. His role would be like a new Marwin, is how he would come in. You don't need a second baseman. Luis Arias is going to be the starter. Jonathan Schoop, though, would be a nice platoon there. And then also maybe, I think he could play other positions. He has really only played second base in his major league career. Definitely has enough arm for third base. I think he's athletic enough. He could play some outfield. And comparing him to Marwin, over the last 2 seasons, Schoop has a 104 WRC plus for the last 2 years. Marwin's is only 85, so he'd be a pretty significant upgrade in terms of offense in that sort of utility role. That's it. Brandon Kintzler's the winner. I can barely talk. Peripherals.